live, but I gotta tell you, your ability to sit still with the way you were sitting, I was like, oh my god, did she freeze?
I probably did freeze. No, I probably was frozen and I just unfroze.
I'm serious. I'm like looking at you and I'm like, oh my god, like she's like a
Yeah.
mime.
Like I'm from a mannequin, Kim Cattrall and
Oh my
mannequin.
god, that's right.
Yeah. Oh, let me see your tattoo again.
Oh
How
yeah,
does it
here you
look?
go. Now you can see it properly.
Oh,
Okay.
it still looks good. It doesn't look
Yeah. No, hold on. Just wait. Watch. Okay. Now. Ooh. Oh. 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 There it is. There it is. See
oh,
the fingers on this, so right there,
what happened?
right there, and on the thumb, it's right there. So it seems like on that side of my finger,
Yeah.
like it doesn't like it clearly didn't heal properly, or it just kind of I mean it's a finger tattoo. It is what it is.
But it almost looks like it disappeared.
It totally disappeared. It's not even there. And she warned me when she did it. She warned me. She said, "Listen, you need to know that this is going to happen." And she said it like 13 times. But I mean, first of all, she's like 25. So,
Right.
oh wait, hold on. While we're doing this, let's get all the stuff out there. So first of all, she's like 25. And like so she's probably done like 30 tattoos in her life. But she was very good. Mm. But she warned me. She warned me. I'm like, listen, I'm a 44-year-old woman. I'm totally willing to take the risk here. It's fine. Maybe at 25 you feel like it's a bigger risk, but I didn't care as much because I figure. So my thought is that what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a couple of months because I want to like just let it all sort itself out, and then I'm going to go to another tattoo place and just have them redo the part that came off. Like, because I'm wondering if the reason may have been because I like my hand was a big hand that we were trying to heal there, not like just like a few of them, right? So I'm thinking if I only have a little bit of the space to heal, then it might heal better, or I might not lose as much. You know what I mean? I think it might. I'm wondering if it may have been a result of just too much stuff happening on my hand at once.
Interesting.
You know. Um. So yeah, I mean it is what it is. Alrighty. So make sure you share this to your personal
I
profile.
did. I shared it to my business page.
Great, your business page or wherever it is that you're sharing.
So I know that you have your whole
No, no, I don't
thing
have
of
a thing. Start. Do whatever you want. You've got your thing. Like this is just you and I talking, so I don't really care what we talk about. I'm doing my thing while you talk to me.
well, you don't have kids, so I'm wondering if your audience how they feel like. So we do the Elf on the Shelf here. I'm like a huge supporter of all things magical. So for me, I'm like,
Totes.
oh, it's Christmas. Like, let's bring out all the things, right?
Yeah.
But it's amazing. I was like online this morning. There's a whole like anti-elf culture out there where it's like, I'm just so intrigued by it.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't have kids, but I have an opinion.
And it makes sense though, because I mean, it's a lot of work because like you're supposed to move the elf around, and there's some people who like really go above and beyond, which I think is hilarious. They like have their elves getting into all kinds of mischief. So like every morning,
I've
like the elf, in the hot chocolate, and there's like Rice Krispies everywhere. It's like I think for me, I'm like that's so fun. Like they have the elf getting into though. When I think about it from the other perspective, like the elf is supposed to be like Santa's minion, and it's there to like make sure that you behave. But if the elf is misbehaving, it doesn't really set the best precedent. So now that I think about it, I'm a little bit confused. But anyway, but so we do the elf, but in our house, the elf just kind of like moves around. So like she goes from, and she's a she. We
Oh,
have a she elf.
she cool.
Her name is Flake. So Flake moves around the house and she comes after Thanksgiving. But I'm just curious about, like the folks in the audience who come in here. Like, I'm wondering what their position is on the elf. Is it like your team elf? The elf is like, super
Team
excited every
elf.
year, or are you like team no elf? So I'm very interested to learn because it's one of those things where I'm always every year I think it comes up and I'm always surprised and I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. So I'm just wondering.
Just as
And
an
I have to,
FYI, Christy is chastising me live, as you rightly should, Christy, as you rightly should. No one knows she's chastising me, but I'm calling myself out publicly right now because I need to call myself out. Christy, thank you for chastising me publicly. She only said you got to stop doing that. What she's warning me is that stop sending the text message out after I've already sent it because I'm
oh,
already doing it. So why are you doing it? Sorry, Christy. I'm sorry. Um,
I
it's
gotta
for
find.
I need to get better at it, but okay, the elf on the shelf. Let's go back to that. So LaFern says that she has the elves waiting for your daughter to outgrow it, so I can make them do some super naughty scenes. Okay, so when you
Okay.
say super naughty scenes, LaFern, like I got a feeling that we're not talking about the same kind. I'm not talking sure. What are we talking about for naughty scenes here? I don't know.
I think it means mischief.
Mischief scenes. Okay, we're okay. So clearly, not having children is influencing my thought pattern here.
I would say so. I think that's a safe assumption for sure.
Katie has two elves. Oh my goodness.
Well,
Um,
so Vanessa, we actually have four because we have the elves from when Butch was little. And they, at the time it was different because they're not the actual elf on the shelf. They're just elves that Carol got for their tree.
They're just elves, but you just put it on a shelf and it's an elf on a shelf.
Right. So we have a 1970s, actually 1960s elf for Michael and Sharon, and then we have a 1970s one. They're really old. So they come out, those elves come out once the tree is decorated because they live in the tree. So
Haley finds them creepy. I gotta tell you,
they're
so really creepy looking. They're so. I am glad I don't have kids because I don't want to see those creepy. They're like, this is Sarah. Look at this. This is the face.
Constantly frozen.
Frozen in the face. It's like, why? Nobody wants to see this. LaFern, by the way, was talking about dirty and lewd. Just FYI, her and I were connected mentally this way. Okay, so Katie, lots of you guys have 2 elves. So Syra, this question seems even bigger. There's people who are anti-elf. There's people who make elves do dirty and lewd things. People do elves doing naughty things. And then there's people who have 2 elves. Like this. Now, why would you? How do you justify that to your kids? Like, what do you tell your kids? Like, you guys are so bad that Santa has to send 2 elves. Like, how does that work?
Or the elf gets lonely, so they have a buddy.
Okay, a buddy elf is good. Buddy elf,
so that they're not feeling lonely. But the mischief part does bring up the question, because it's like, if they're there to watch your kids and make sure that your kids behave for Santa,
maybe they're supposed to be showing you how not to behave.
Maybe.
Right?
Do not spill marshmallows all over the kitchen counter.
Exactly. This is a representative example of what not to do. Oh, I totally froze. Right. Okay, so Jennifer Brooks has named hers. So Jennifer's elf is Ellie Sparkles, and every day the Ellie Sparkles. That's a great name. I love that name. Cindy, we didn't have Elf on the Shelf. I never heard of it until we joined LuLaRoe. Like, until LuLaRoe, I didn't even know that was a thing.
True.
Like, yep. Did you do Elf on a Shelf before LuLaRoe? Had you heard of it before then?
I honestly don't remember.
Yeah, I don't really remember. LaFern says, oh, she doesn't use it to curve behavior. It's a fun adventure. Okay, so yeah, so this is definitely Katie's kids. I was going to say, Katie, I was like, your kids are pretty old. I'm like, what's the story with your kids and the elf?
We don't do the elf is watching you, so you better behave, because I feel like that's a very 1984 George Orwellian surveillance type culture. So like, we haven't.
The elf is watching you. Mendy is a woman after my own heart. So Mendy says we have an elf, but most days, she said elf, but I said elf. It's mostly just her hub and her. So the elf gets quite a show. That, she says, has a really good time sometimes. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, elf. Love it.
So our elf is only ever in the living room, kitchen, and dining room. So yeah.
If you're an adult with no children, Syra, it doesn't matter where it is. Just saying.
Right, but why would you have an elf if you don't have kids?
Okay, that I don't know. I don't know that part. Mandy, why do you have an elf if you don't have kids? I'm curious. Maybe it's just for the fun, or maybe it's for like the elf got to see some stuff, like.
Or it could be between spouses, like, doing some fun stuff to be like, you find the elf today, maybe you get a prize,
Oh, when you said between spouses, I thought you meant between 2 spouses, like you get a divorce and between one spouse and the next.
No, I definitely meant between the 2 married people, or the 2 together people, either or.
I guess it could be both. Haley finds them creepy with me.
Went in a direction I was not expecting.
Well, Syra, you're with me. It's been, you and I don't have opportunities, like with Syra's reno and my move and the things that we've been, like, we haven't really had an opportunity like to hang out. And I feel like we did this so that we would make sure that once a week, every week, we would at least spend an hour talking to each other. Let's just make sure that this happens.
Make sure that somebody's talking to somebody.
I know, somebody needs to talk to somebody. Crystal says, okay, this is so funny. Crystal says we have an elf, and this year my son doesn't believe in it anymore, but he still wants her to move it every night.
Love it.
That is amazing. I felt that way when I was 11. I remember when I was 11. There were other things that I felt that about.
Eliza just figured out the truth, and she's fine with it, that we still do it. She's like, I think for her, she's like, 1 more year of adventure isn't a bad thing.
Adventure, I think it's always a good thing, and I think that one of the things that I regret the most, and I was talking to Amy Lee about this yesterday. So Amy Lee and I connected, we got on a call. By the way, guys, I did my human design, blew my freaking mind, so we're going to come back to that eventually, but I did my human design with Amy Lee yesterday, and we were talking, oh my god, I totally, oh yeah, and we were talking about how magic, like, as an adult, I believe in magic more now than I did as a kid. It's just different type of magic that I believe in. Like, it's not the same, but it's still magic. And it fits the definition of any magic that I've ever heard of. And so, like, a lot of the things we do with our minds, a lot of the connections to source, the meditations, things like that, that's so magical, the kind of connection you have to the universe. and the potential and opportunity for just everything, right? So I feel like the longer you can keep magic going, the better. And I regret losing that spot. And I regret that I felt as a teenager that I had to like let it go to be like, you know, sciencey. I regret that there was a time in my life where I had to do that. I regret that.
I don't know. Why would you feel that way? Because I feel like we were raised with the perpetual sense of belief in.
There was definitely a time in my life where I really struggled with like, so back when we were in Emerson, I went to the Wicca, I went to a Wicca community. Like, I can't remember even where it was. It was like a Wiccan she did psychic readings also. And anyway, I went to her space, and when I was there, I don't remember exactly what happened super well, but what I remember most of all is thinking to myself that I was trying to that I was trying to hold on to something that didn't actually exist, that I was trying to force magic where magic didn't exist. And I think it was because I was really grappling with the balance of magic and science, and like, you know, they're not like that science disproves magic and things like that. I was so young, and I felt like I had to have, like, it had to be black or white, right? But as an adult, I feel more like it doesn't have to be that hard line. Like, there's a gray area, and honestly, there is no difference between science and magic. It's all the same. It's just a different way of understanding it. So I think it was maybe more part of my exploration and like growth process. But I felt like when you're a teenager in that age, you feel very compelled that you have to do things, and like you believe, you know, you and I've talked about this. You remember when you were saying to me the other day, like we were talking about something that you had an opinion, I had an opinion, and you're like, listen, I just don't care if you agree with me or not. I'm at an age now where we're talking, we're having the discussion, but I don't need to convince you of my position. This is my position and I'm okay with it. But when you're younger, you feel like you need to be right and convince people that you're right. And like, I remember feeling that so strongly. So for me, I not only had to be right about magic, I had to be able to convince other people that I was right. And if I couldn't convince them, then I must be wrong, and so living in that space is very uncomfortable because I created these walls around myself. They weren't real, but that's sort of where that came from. Does that make sense?
Yes, totally. Because I think that you're right. Like when you're at a certain age, you definitely feel like there's a singular truth.
Yes.
That there is only this truth, and there can't be variations of it. There, and therefore, if I'm right, then and you have a different point of view, then you must be wrong. Because if you're right, then I'm wrong.
Right. And, so like we both can't be right.
Right. We can't both be right. So I think that as people get older, I do think they realize, well, I don't know if everybody does, but actually I shouldn't say older, because I don't think it necessarily is limited to age. I think as people grow through experience and relationships, I think they definitely realize that more than one truth can occupy the same space at the same time.
Yeah. And that was actually one of the hardest things for me to actually come to terms with, was that understanding. Oh, by the way, Sarah, apparently Katie says that if you watch the Elf on the Shelf movie, which she hasn't, I don't know if you watched it yet, Katie.
I did not know there was a movie.
Well, apparently Katie says somebody told her that if she watches the Elf on the Shelf movie, she'll learn a whole lot of the lore. And apparently it like, yeah, crazy.
All right.
All right. Colleen says that she says, Elisa says, I have a friend to whom I often have to say, why is it so important to you that I agree with you? Mm-hmm, you know what? That's a really good question. And I think that like even you saying those words makes me think to myself, I don't know if I have an answer for that. Like, right now.
Well, it doesn't matter to me. Like, I mean, that's the thing. It's like now I'm at the point where that doesn't matter. Like whether someone agrees with me or not. Like I think when you're earlier on in life, surrounding yourself people who agree with you and like see the world the way you see it is so important, because it helps solidify your identity.
Yeah.
But I feel like the older I've gotten, the more I do appreciate having people around me that don't have the same point of view, because then it gives me an opportunity to really be challenged and look at my own point of view to say, how strongly do I really believe in what I believe in? And not so that I can argue with somebody else to convince them that I'm right or wrong, but because it helps me feel more confident in who I am, that, you know what? Yeah. Even in the face of opposition, I still feel the way I feel. Yes. And why is that? And it almost feels like I know myself better through the opportunity to see other people's perspectives, you know, where it's not, because I was telling you about, like, I read all the different news sources. So like for me, I don't have just one place I get my news from. Like I'll read all of them. Like I have my habits of like, I go to CNN every day. I go to Newsmax. I go to, you know, NPR, WMUR. So like I have all these different places and they all have their own, I remember studying about this at Emerson, bias in the media. So you have to always go to every, like, you know, that Fox News is going to be very, you know, leaning right. You know, that CNN is going to be right. So it's really hard to find like something that's like really in the middle. So like I read all of them, and it's so interesting because when you look at all these different sources, you're like, wow, you have like 10 different reporters who are all looking at the exact same thing that's happening right now, and everyone has something else to say. And it's interesting because like from that perspective, you don't get too wrapped up in like being right or having somebody else's position be the source of truth. It's really interesting from like a human evaluation perspective to see how 10 different people can look at the exact same situation and walk away with 10 different points of view. Because it's like, wow, how does that even happen? Because it all comes from your own life experience, right? Like where you come from and, you know, what your belief systems are and, you know, all that stuff. But so anyway,
well,
obviously
I think there's another element to that, because like it goes down to like, you know, where people have agendas, right? So like I have an agenda, and my agenda is to get you to believe blah. Someone else has an agenda and their agenda is to get you to believe blah. And they're going to write things based off of the agenda. Whether or not it's true isn't even relevant anymore. Because I think in today's society, we've gotten to a space where it doesn't even matter whether it's true. So like I can say something and be like, this is fact. And you're like, yes, this is fact. And okay, and everybody believes it's fact. And then we find out it's not fact, and you're like, well,
it's not fact.
Yeah, and
it's
then
kind
you're
of
like, well,
Pluto.
what the heck?
Like Pluto was a planet, and then Pluto got fired.
I can't even deal with this. I cannot deal with Pluto.
But Pluto's back now.
I know. That's why I can't deal with it, because it's back. I'm like, can we please just decide what we want to do about this?
I know, is Pluto a space rock or not? But I'm actually very curious because I think I read somewhere else that Pluto is now. Something is happening to Pluto.
Something else is. I agree. I read the same thing, that something else is happening to Pluto as well. But do you
know what's happening to Pluto? Is it?
Let me look up Pluto in the news, because I think that I think you're right. Pluto. Okay, I get Pluto. The Pluto news. Okay, there's Pluto channel. Oh my God, Pluto planet. God, why is there? Okay, there's a. Okay, it is a ninth planet. Okay. A ninth planet in our solar system may have just been discovered. Dude, the ninth planet is Pluto. Okay, so hold on.
Wait a second. What?
What? I'm figuring this. What? Okay. All right. Moons or planets too. Oh my God, this is getting very complicated. Pluto's dark side and frost cycles. Okay, there was a. I remember this. This is the one that I read. It's basically just about Pluto's float cycles and Sorry. Oh my God, ice cycles and rotation cycles and things like that, but nothing major. But what we're really finding is that apparently there's a ninth planet, and the ninth planet is not Pluto. They really don't want us to have Pluto. I feel like they just don't want us to have it.
Well, Pluto, according to NASA, is a dwarf planet.
Yeah, that's what Haley just said. It's a dwarf planet. So I think they made it a planet, then they made it like a dwarf planet, and then like, you know, who knows. Well, here's the thing. Is Pluto bigger or smaller than like Mercury or Venus?
I think it's smaller, isn't it?
Right? So like if it's smaller, then that would make it the dwarf planet too. Yeah.
I think it's smaller. But anyway, so it's just really interesting because it's like what you were saying, like what's true. Like, you know, I was talking to Eliza and I got into this huge philosophical conversation. We watched the Prestige. Did you ever watch that movie, The Prestige?
That was that the one with Christian Bale and
yes.
his twin?
Yes, yes.
Or whatever it is.
Excellent movie, and Eliza's like really kind of in the space where she likes older movies and she really wants. So I was like,
older movies like The Prestige.
No, that movie is like I think 20 years old.
Okay, so 20 years old Prestige. So
it's kind of old for her, you know.
Yeah.
So anyway, so we're talking about it, and we were like, I was explaining to her. I said because she so at the end of the movie she was like, you could see that her mind was just completely blown, right? Where she was like, what just happened, right? So she had a lot of questions. And then we got into this whole conversation of, you know, God and like religion and faith and all this stuff. So what I said to her was, we were talking about fact versus like, not fiction, but like how our dad taught me this, right? That your ability to comprehend possibility is limited by your experience on Earth. And it's not just your experience, but it's the experiences that you've been exposed to. So for example, I was telling her, I was like, for me and Vanessa, I was like, and for your father and for your grandparents, I'm like, the idea that dinosaurs could be lizards was very accepted, right? So for us, there's nothing weird about that, right? So if somebody said to us, like, you know, a dinosaur is a lizard, we'd be like, yeah, of course it is.
Obviously, thunder lizard, that's what it's called.
Right. But now there's all these new discoveries where they're not lizards, they're actually birds, right? They're feathered. And like, there's this whole like, you know, new discoveries about, you know, what species they really belong to and everything else. And so by the time you have kids or, you know, that next generation comes, this idea that dinosaurs or lizards will be preposterous, right? Because it'll be so ingrained in our society that they're of course feathered creatures, they're birds, duh. Like you would never even think to yourself, the idea, just like the earth being flat, would be absurd, right?
Oh God, and people who believed it, oh my God, that's so ridiculous.
It's like, that's so crazy. And I said, but this is how this is how the world is, right? Is that you only believe insofar as what you've been shown so far. And I think that was one of the greatest lessons that dad ever taught me, was like when we would talk about God or heaven or all these other things, I'm like, there's, you know, if I was like on the other side of it at that time in my life, he was like, your limiting beliefs are based on that you are from Earth, you know, that this is what you know. He's like, but you don't know what you don't know. And so you can't really have an opinion for like of certainty,
right?
Because next year, who knows what's going to happen? You know, the year after that, who knows what's going to happen? So so Eliza and I got into this whole conversation about how reality, in fact, is so fluid.
Yep.
Because it's all based on what we've discovered today. You know,
yep.
like how far have we come so far? And it was really interesting because like to see the world through the eyes of an 11-year-old, like I was like, wow, it must be really hard for her to really wrap her mind around this, because like even for me, like I struggle with these ideas sometimes of, you know, the evolution of our beliefs, whether it's science or, you know, I mean, remember HIV used to be like, you know,
incurable, and it was a death sentence.
The death sentence. And now, I mean, it's unbelievable what they can do. So it's really, I think for me, experiencing the world, whether it's through the Elf on the Shelf or whether it's through like, you know, these conversations, experiencing the world through like the 11-year-old awe, I've been like so humbled that don't take anything for granted, you know, because it's like, I want her to maintain this kind of like open mind of endless possibilities and magic, like what you were saying, right?
Yep.
That life is like this constant, it's like a flower that just keeps opening and keeps opening and keeps, like a kaleidoscope. You know, when you look at a kaleidoscope, there's no specific end to the kaleidoscope, you know? But anyway, it's been a very interesting week.
Well, you know, it's interesting you should say that, because like we're talking about it in this like big esoteric kind of like deep, meaningful, spiritual way. But, and you know, trust me to always bring it back down to business, because that's just who I am.
Right.
But I mean, but that's actually what I've been thinking. Like, so yesterday I did a live in, I did my, so stop shitting all over yourself. By the way, Sarah, this looks like somebody put a toupee and something blue dyed on my head. I'm just going to say.
I was going to say, you look very much like a feather, like a bird yourself.
Oh, like a bird just died on my head. Like I can't even with like whatever is happening with this situation here. Like is not like I look like Stanley's toupee.
Yeah, but what did you do? What has happened?
Okay, so here's what happened. I went to a barber to have her fix it so that it went like this, so that I could get a mohawk. Okay,
great. Didn't fix it.
No, she did. And when you put product in it, it actually stands up like a mohawk and looks really cool. Okay. Then this started growing out while I was in Jersey. Okay, so now I have like this hair thing. So now I look almost like a woodpecker, you know, with like this is like some of my feathers, and this is like the tuft of feathers that I do when I'm trying to attract a mate, right? So like I'm like a tropical bird trying to attract my mate. That's what happens.
Tropical fish and its mate.
So then I come back from Jersey with the expectation that I'm gonna shave all this. But I got really busy and I'm like, I'll do it tomorrow, right? So now yesterday I looked at myself in the mirror and I'm like, okay, so it looks like, you know, it looks like this. Okay, so let's see if I can turn this light on because it'll make it even brighter. Okay. So like, and it looks literally like somebody took a toupee and put it right on top of my head, because this is gray and this is blue.
Yeah.
So like, it looks like something died on my head. And so my plan is to shave this and then kind of like, and then put a little bit of product to get it straightened up. But in the meantime, this is seriously some of the worst, hold on, I gotta fix that. Some of the worst hair situations that I've ever had in my life.
I mean, you kind of look like you could be on an episode of Star Trek.
I could be. I'm down with being, but I don't. Have you seen Star Trek recently?
No, but there was always, you know, the old Star Trek, you know, the one we used to watch.
I watched all of those recently. I'm worse than that too. Like this goes further. This goes lower down than like Star Trek. The TOS, TOS, whatever. So Melody apparently is now. Melody, I hope you're still alive because you made her laugh so hard. I don't know if it was me or you. Probably me because I'm funnier.
I think it was probably you, because I mean, talking about your hair, like that was pretty funny.
Well, I mean, you started the conversation. Anyway, I can't remember. What was I saying? My hair? Talking about my hair?
I have no idea what you were talking about.
We were talking about magic. Oh, business. Right. So what we were talking about yesterday on the live was about Facebook, right? And how before April 2017, the rule of the game was do more, go more live, get more people. The numbers, it was a numbers game. All the numbers, all the time. Just get all the numbers. And then April 2017, Facebook releases the new algorithm. Everything gets fucked. And since then the whole game has changed, right? And we're all the issue that we're all having is the fact that this is the business equivalent or the social media equivalent of us working through this idea that dinosaurs are birds. The only difference is that it doesn't matter if dinosaurs are birds, okay? Birds, reptiles, it doesn't impact our lives on a day-to-day basis. So we have plenty of time to just deal with it in our subconscious. And then in 2 years, we're talking and you're like, OMG. But when you're talking about Facebook and it's something that's like, or something like social media that's big in your business that you're in all day, every day, then you are holding on to a belief system that dinosaurs are freaking lizards. And you're trying to fight against the lizards while doing the work for feathers. And it already, like, just the word analogy I gave you is confusing enough to where you're sitting there going like, what? That's why we struggle on Facebook, is because we're trying to do something that's antiquated. We haven't caught up to the times, and many of us haven't. And even if you are practically, your belief systems, it doesn't matter. You're a 40-something-year-old woman. Your belief systems are ingrained in you and you have to work on them, right? So even though I know that and I do the thing, there are definitely moments where my instinct comes out and I'm like, oh my God, I can't say that. Or I can't do that. Yeah. Or I should post 30 times today. Come back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or that kind of thing.
It really does look like you're drinking whiskey.
Dude, here's the thing.
Yeah.
When you wake up in the morning, it's iced tea, delicious iced tea. So I gave up Dr. Pepper. I'm in so much pain today, Syra. Like the pain level that I have today is unparalleled. I went to the gym yesterday. First time in a long time. I was in the gym for too long. I should have done only 30 minutes of walking on the treadmill. I did 40. And my fibro was like, listen, you got to go into these things slowly. Like, you can't really be jumping into here. And then I gave up Dr. Pepper at the same time. So when I woke up this morning with a migraine and an agony, I was just like, okay.
I know it's hard giving up Dr. Pepper. Like, I will say, like, I mean, but it was honestly like the best thing I ever did. And I can't now thinking back, I mean, it's kind of like smoking, right? Like, remember when we first stopped smoking, like well, actually maybe not, because when I stopped smoking, I just found out I was pregnant. So for me, it was kind of easy to not smoke because I was like, I'm pregnant. But, I mean, I do remember quitting smoking one time before that. It's like one day at a time, right? You do one day and then you're like, oh, if I can get through today, I can get through tomorrow. But now, I mean, I haven't had a Dr. Pepper now. I didn't realize how long it had been. It's been 6 years since I've had a sip of Dr.
Baffled that it's been 6 years since you had a Dr. Pepper.
And well, it's funny because I did have a sip.
How is that possible? You had Dr. Pepper when we were at LuLaRoe.
Oh, so when did we leave? Because I stopped. It was a year before I left LuLaRoe that I stopped. Because I started
we left LuLaRoe. We left LuLaRoe in July of 2018. So 2017. So 18, 19, 20, 21. 4 years. That's still a lot.
So that's 4 years. And then I took a sip of Butchie's. We were at the movie theater and I was dying of thirst, right? My soda water was finished. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so thirsty. I'm like, cause I had popcorn, it's salt in my mouth. It's like, Butchie, can I just have a sip? He was like, really? I'm like, yeah. I was like, please, please, please. So I took a sip and I almost threw up because I felt like I literally took a sip of straight sugar water. It was, and the funny thing is, like, Dr. Pepper has a taste. Yeah. Like if you take the sweetness out of it, it has like this very specific, like cherry, but not
it's
really
gross. I mean, but it's amazing. It's the elixir of life.
Amazing. Oh yeah. But I couldn't even taste that because the sugar for me, because I hadn't had something that sweet in so long, was so overpowering that I was like, bleh. So now, even if like I accidentally took a sip of Eliza's like Sprite or something, I was like, oh, it was vile, absolutely vile. So I think that you really do, after even a couple of months, your body totally retrains itself to not. And do you drink sweet tea or unsweet? I
drink unsweet tea. So like I don't have any sugar, and my problem is that like if I drink, I don't have sugar in the things that I drink. If it's not Dr. Pepper, and when I eat eggs in the morning, I hate eggs because psychologically they're
gross. And we have chickens.
Guys, okay, I don't understand. Okay, so somebody asked me this the other day. I'm just going to tell you this, okay? So I want you to know that this is the response that I got the other day. So Casey and I were talking. Casey's my friend who works at the Tonight Show. So we were over and we met with her, and I think you met her, right? So
we stayed at her house.
Oh yeah, we stayed at her house. Okay, yeah, you stayed at her house. Okay, so I forgot you met Casey. Okay, so I was talking to Casey. Okay, and I was telling Casey how, oh my God, even when I told her this, I forgot you two knew each other. And I was like, Casey, I was like, my sister has chickens, and I said, but she doesn't eat eggs because she thinks they're disgusting. And she was like, well, why does she have chickens then? And I was like, I don't fucking know. And I was like, I'm gonna ask her because I don't. She's like, does she eat the chickens? I'm like, no, she loves them. She's named them. I was like, why does she have them? I was like, I have no idea.
Because I have 3 kids who eat eggs and a husband who eat eggs.
Got it. I find chickens or chicks or eggs to be disgusting. Sophia calls them fresh butt nuggets. Thank you for that vision. Appreciate that.
No, even my kids say like sometimes how gross it is. Because if you really think about it, like, well, and Butch and I get into this conversation often where it's like, who came up with this idea? Like, who was like, let's take this creature that's running around in front of us with feathers and a beak and looks really weird, and let's chop its head off and take its skin off and eat it. And
I know exactly how that happened. I will tell you exactly how that happened.
You tell.
The way that happened is the way that a lot of these other things happen. You had people who were starving 200,000 years ago with 4 domesticated chickens and birds and whatnot, and they basically grabbed it and ate it. Or you had, we were in a space where we were still like, ooh, you know, not actually speaking languages. And we were just grabbing, you know, birds and like, you know, like other animals do and eating it. And then when we discovered fire, we probably tried to cook it with the feathers. Nah, that's not good. That smells disgusting. Let's pull the feathers off and eat the chicken. So I think
we were thinking about coffee too. Like who came up with this idea of let's take this bean, let's boil it in water, and then that's going to taste delicious. It's like, who came up with that?
Dude, so it's so much worse than you think. There's actually a bean that you actually have the goat eat. It poops out the bean, and then you make the coffee out of that bean. Who did that?
But I think the coffees and teas probably came from shaman who like use them for like medicinal purposes, who like would go out in the woods and find things to like, you know, I'm sure there was some purpose to like caffeine for like blood circulation.
Yeah. Well, yeah, to eat, to drink. I'm going to talk about drink coffee. I'm going to do what's up.
Anyway, so with eggs, yes, you were saying you can't stand eggs, so, and there was some point to the story, and then we got into the chicken.
I lost this, but apparently, okay, the earliest credible evidence of coffee drinking is in the middle 15th century in Yemen, and the region of origin is in. Apparently, there's a whole history of coffee, dude. But yeah,
of course.
I mean, I guess it makes sense. There's probably books about it. But we were talking about eggs being disgusting.
We were talking about Dr. Pepper, and you were talking about giving up Dr. Pepper because you don't.
Oh yeah, I've had apple juice for it. I started drinking apple juice to like just because I need to get the egg taste out of my mouth. Like,
why don't you have tea?
Huh?
Why don't you just have tea?
Because I don't like tea with sugar in it.
But why do you need something sweet? Why can't you just have tea with no sugar in it? It still has flavor that's strong.
Because eggs leave an aftertaste in your mouth of, you know, of chicken embryo. Okay,
what about toast? Have it with toast.
I don't have bread.
Oh, right.
Yeah, no, I mean, I love your suggestions, but it's Dr. Pepper is what I've sort of like. But now it's apple juice, and then I'll figure out what it is. But like, yeah, I'm very specific. You know how it is.
I love orange juice, but I can't drink it because it gives me heartburn. And I love seltzer. Like, I have a soda stream. I honestly was telling Bush the other day.
I can't drink that.
Oh, it's so good. Add a little fresh lime juice to it. It tastes like
so bitter.
No, it's not. If you add lime juice, it tastes like a fresh lime 7-Up.
No, you know what's weird? If you add lime juice, it tastes like bitter crap.
You just need to retrain your taste buds. You're
I know.
too addicted.
I'm thinking I need to get rid of the sugary part for like I can't go straight from Dr. Pepper to soda. Like that's not going to work because I'm looking for the sugary. What I need to do is first get it down to the point where my body's not craving sugar, and then try the soda. Because you're not wrong. I think that like the problem right now is my taste buds are all out of whack and they need to be retrained. Yeah. Absolutely. Dee Dee loves Dr. Pepper as well. So, Syra.
I do still love Dr. Pepper, man. Like, seriously, I could drink a 12-pack of Dr. Pepper one day, no problem.
I love Dr. Pepper. Dude, Syra and I, when we were living in Brighton, oh my God. Like, remember we had, Syra and I had this thing that you could attach to the wall that you could put the cans in afterwards and you'd pull the lever, crunk, and it would smush the can. That thing,
a trash can.
We ripped it out of the wall. That thing because it didn't. Yeah, it not. Cindy does
we had no money. Vanessa and I were broke. We could only afford to basically live on Ori Ida French fries and Marie Callender or whatever chicken nuggets, frozen chicken nuggets. But we had money for Dr. Pepper and cigarettes. You better believe it. So
we always had money for Dr. Pepper and cigarettes. Like even if we couldn't eat, we had money for Dr. Pepper and cigarettes. Okay, so
those 12 packs on the beeline home sucked.
Oh my God, it was the worst. Okay, hold on. Sophia gave us some information here. Okay, Sophia says it may come as a surprise to learn that the first domesticated chicken was not for eating, but for fighting. Humans raised fowl for cockfights starting in Southeast Asia and China as early as 10,000 years ago, but their meat wasn't enjoyed until later. Now researchers investigating the ancient city in Israel have found what they think is the earliest evidence of chickens were kept for food. Wow!
Amazing.
That's so cool. I was totally wrong then. I have no idea how it actually happened. I totally made up a story, but you believed me. Just saying.
I believed it was a possible
Fair.
I don't know that I believed you, but I definitely believed it.
But I don't mind. Here's the thing. I am acknowledging my wrongness out loud to everyone.
Well, you're also not invested in the chicken. So like for you,
Dude,
like,
there was a time where I was invested in every single argument I made. It didn't matter what argument I made. It didn't matter what we were debating. I had to be right. Like it just did not matter. And like it's just, and so I think that one of the greatest growth spurts I've had, as a human being, has just been letting go of this need to be right, and like just being like, it doesn't, like, I'm wrong. Oh, go figure. I think having fibromyalgia helps because it's like I barely remember things anyway. I doubt my own abilities, so I'm like, well, maybe, oh, Sophia says, I'm sure some Ooga Booga caveman accidentally cooked a bird next to the fire.
Yeah.
Yes, it's probably, I'm just going to go out and say that I was probably right. Like, probably right.
I mean, we don't know. We weren't there.
We don't know. Were you there? We weren't there.
Exactly. We weren't there. There are so many things that we're like, well, that's true. And it's like, well, is it? Because how the hell would you know? I mean, we weren't there. We just go on somebody else. We like you go on this archaeological, anthropological, that's the most likely scenario based on the evidence you have, but we don't really know.
Well, so let me tell you something. What I'm figuring out about myself now, or just in life in general, is that we don't know anything. Because every time we think we know something, we learn something new. And then we're like, oh, wait a minute. So like, the oldest, the best example I can think of is the indigenous population of North America, where when I was in college studying anthropology, I was in a historical archaeology program, so our position was very much of one where you work with communities, and in their, they are the guides for your archaeology and history, as opposed to you being the archaeologist coming in and being like, I know everything, right? Yep. But the people who were like, I know everything archaeologists, they said there is no possibility that humans came into North America before 11,000 years ago. Not possible. No way, no how. And I remember that being a really big conversation during that time. And there were some people who were saying, no, I think it's a little bit earlier, about maybe, you could 20,000. And then meanwhile, the various indigenous communities in North America were like, no, we've been here for a really, really long time, tens of thousands of years, so far back that you don't even know the date or whatever. And the archaeologists are like, you don't know what you're talking about. These are just like folk tales. Well, now, guess what we're finding? We found 5-10 years after I left college, we found that, oh, guess what? 20,000 years does make sense. And then we found, and then after that, we found, oh, wait a minute, it actually might even be before that. And you know what else we discovered? The wave that we thought you guys came north from the Bering Strait across the land bridge. Yeah, that was wrong. That's not how you came. Oh, you know what else we learned? Is that you guys have been right all along. You actually have come over many, many times. Many people have come over the years. Like, it's actually been multiple migrations. And so what we believed was 100% fact in 2007, in 2021, is now like, you would be laughed out of scholastic circles if you said that.
Right, exactly.
It is so, we've arrived at the big question. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? This is the question we've arrived at now.
Okay.
Cindy says that her son, by the way, is 27 and he's the same. He has to be right. He even admits it. I'll be honest, it's a burden. It's a burden to feel like you always have to be right.
I just don't care enough about.
I mean, I don't, but I think that like when I was young, you got to work your way through that process, because there was a time where you did care about that, and you went through that process of getting there. And what's interesting is that Elisa was saying how she has someone who is 64 who hasn't gotten past that, and it's like Pluto, ever evolving, exactly. And now I feel like we've come full circle on this conversation.
I was going to say we've come full circle. But now I had something I was going to say to you, and now we're talking about the... did you read about the procreating robots?
Oh my God! Dude, listen, Ian Malcolm was right. I am just saying, nature finds a way.
Finds a way.
Dude.
Life finds a way. That's what it was. Life finds a way. Speaking of which, life finding a way. Yeah, that was that scared me a lot. I was like, wow, I feel like I'm in an episode of some like bad sci-fi or Brave New World.
I think it's amazing. You know what? The world is going to move forward, and I think what we need to do, and this is true for business, for life, for everything, the world is going to continue to move forward, right? The current is going. You've got to figure out where in the current you want to be, right? So it's like, I am embracing this robot procreation because I'm like, great, if robots can procreate, great. What does that mean next? Maybe it means robot bodies for us.
Yeah, but I don't know. Well, and that's true. Butch and I talked about that too. Like, this whole idea of like, the transplantation of consciousness into, like the Borg or whatever.
Yeah, we are Borg. Resistance is futile.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I don't know. I'm still a little bit on the fence about the whole robot procreation thing.
Well, the
To
thing
me,
is it exists and
you
it's
know,
not going anywhere, right? So
just like Ian, just like what Jeff Golden's character
that's
said.
what I said, Ian Malcolm. That's what I said.
No, I know, but that's what I'm saying is I'm going to the next level of what he said though, which was just because you can do something doesn't mean necessarily
you should. Right. I put that in a. You know what? Here's the thing though, it's happening. It is what it is. So like you're feeling like. And I this is gonna come out wrong, but it's not meant to come out the way because I think these same things. And like what I've really started to like work on in myself is that it doesn't matter how I feel about it. It's there, right? So I have a choice in that moment. I can just let myself figure out how I'm gonna feel about it, or I can direct how I want to feel about it, right? And I don't know, like this is just, and I don't think I picked the same one for every idea, but it's a process that I go through every time because I'm like, I'm gonna be uncomfortable with this idea. Or I'm going to find a way to embrace it and bring it into my life. And like some things matter, you know, like for me, trans rights matter, right? So I'm going to be uncomfortable that trans people do not have the same rights as everyone else. And I'm going to incorporate that and I'm going to do things in a different way. But I made a choice to do that, right? Other things I may be like for example, this robot thing. Honestly, it doesn't really matter in the scheme of things, right? So for me, I'm like, you know what? I may as well love it because why give myself a reason to feel bad about something?
Well, because there could be all kinds of ethical debate about what it's going to be used for. So let's say, for example, right, they say, okay, we've learned that this can be done. We're going to use this technology. And over the course of, say, 25 years, they figure out how to basically use this robot technology to grow a limb to basically then chop it off and replace somebody else's limb who lost it.
Okay.
So then it comes into this whole conversation of, well, what about the rights of the robot? You know, so it's like, you know,
totally. But that's a conversation in the future. Right now, the conversation is the possibility is there. So now we explore what are the opportunities. If we don't explore because we're afraid of what might happen in the future, then we'll never have progress, right? So like,
but I don't know.
Cross I'm on that bridge when you come to it.
But some bridges you don't even want to get to, and I don't know where I stand on it.
No, totally. And I don't either. I'm like,
for me, I feel like when it came up, my first instinct was, is this really a place we should be? You know, and it was like more of a philosophical, just like a moment of, I don't know how I feel about it. Like, I don't know if that feels like moral to me, if it feels right, if it feels wrong. Like, I don't know.
But because, should or shouldn't, we're already here. So what does it matter?
Well, yeah.
That's the question, right? So in some things, like before you do it, there's the should or shouldn't. But once you're already there and it's already done, the should or shouldn't is already, you can't have that conversation anymore, right?
Well, but I guess you can, because I mean, there are, I guess ethics boards that decide whether or not something can continue. Like if you can continue that type of work based on where you end up, like they can say, like, just like we did in research at the BI, right? There comes a point where there's like, you have to can this study go forward because of XYZ concern? And those concerns could be anything. It could be, you know, safety of animals. It could be, you know, that they're, you know, whatever the reason is, right? You get to a point where somebody tells you, based on our current understanding of X, we don't feel that this should continue. So I do think that there's a possibility for whoever is in charge to say this went too far.
I think that's the key though. I'm not that whoever, right? So like for me, right. I'm like, I'm not that whoever. So
you're just along for the ride.
I'm along. That's the key. I don't have to have it. That's, you know what it is? I don't have to have an opinion about everything. That's the key. That's actually what I'm trying to say. What I'm actually trying to say is I don't have to have an opinion about everything. So this is one of those things where I'm like, I don't know. Like for you it is, for me it's not, right? So I'm going to just grab the balloon as it runs and be like, okay, take me along on your ride. Let's see what happens. And you may be one of those people who has the conversation and like, obviously I don't know where you're going with this, right? But like maybe say 10 years down the line, you feel really strongly about it. You may end up being one of the people who has those conversations with other people. While I'm like, oh, go have that conversation. When you guys are done, I'm going to be here with the balloon, you know, doing the thing.
Or maybe you would change your mind.
Right.
That's the other thing too, right? Like, or maybe you'd be like, because I think that's what's really interesting is, you know, I feel like we're on the horizon of like so many historic changes, like, and it's hard to know how you feel about everything because there's a lot going on.
So true.
And the funny thing is, I think the feeling I felt when I read that article was, are you freaking kidding me?
I was like, how cool.
What? No, but because it was almost like, what else, right? Because it just felt so sci-fi that I think my reaction wasn't necessarily like one of moral objection. It was more one of like, we are literally living in an episode of Star Trek. Like,
I know.
literally.
Better
right
than Star
now.
Trek. Star Trek was so outdated compared to what.
But I told
reality.
Eliza, and a lot of this came up when we watched Back to the Future. And I said to her, I go, you know, when Vanessa and I were kids and we watched Back to the Future, this whole idea of a watch where you could press a button and call somebody, or FaceTiming where you would have a conversation with somebody on a computer and you would see their face just like he did in Back to the Future, was so like unimaginable. It was so fictional. You couldn't even conceive of a world where that could happen. And I was like, now for you guys, I'm like, virtual reality it's normal.
It's just normal. Oh my God, dude, we're getting a VR headset drone that then I can go out there, put the headset on, send the drone out over the water, and like fly like a bird.
Oh, that's so cool. So question, what is that VR headset?
It's a drone. It's the drone thing. The drone, it comes with the drone. It's like a drone system that comes with the VR headset.
Oh, so it's not like an Oculus. It's like
it's like that thing. Did you ever watch Millennial Man with Robin Williams, Sarah?
No.
I don't think I ever saw that, but I remember seeing the picture. I remember seeing, was the one?
Picture.
Yeah, where he's like the little robot, right? Remember how against stem cell stuff people were? Yes. Oh my God. And now people are rubbing it in their face with creams and serums. That's so true. I remember when stem cells were a huge,
very controversial.
They were very controversial because, oh my God, I can't even remember why everybody was so all caught up in it. Like, it had to do with babies.
Yeah.
I think, right? Babies? I barely remember because now stem cells are like okay, are you guys seeing this flash across the screen that's coming?
Yes, I see it. Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to switch cameras. I actually don't think this is a very good camera. I'm turning my back on the Razer cameras because both my Razer cameras do this. I'm going to go back to my Logitech. Okay.
I love Logitech.
I love my Logitech, but I wanted to just check out new tech to see what new tech looks like. And like see if there was anything better. All right. Well, so my goal for today is to sort my dead bird on my head out. What's your goal for the day?
I have shipping. This is our busiest time of the year because Christmas is coming. And so we have packaging and shipping and all kinds of stuff we got to send out. And then my goal is really to get Eliza's room done because we have to send our pod back.
Oh, that's right. You got to take care of that. Dude, getting our pod out was a nightmare. They took down our electric lines. It was a pain in the butt. Well, because our lines they were low, right? And like the guy coming in figured it out and he did a great job. But the guy who came to pick it up was an idiot. And he was just like, and by an idiot, I mean, he just didn't pay attention. He didn't care. He wasn't looking. And he just like took down the lines. And I'm like, what the fuck?
So did you electricity?
Oh, okay. So Cindy, so this is why. The first stem cells came from aborted embryos. That's why, that makes a lot of sense where the controversy would have come from on that one. Sophia says it was also, people were worried about DNA cloning people like Jurassic Park. That's another, I remember those arguments where people were like, because that was around the time where they cloned Dolly and the sheep. Remember sheep? Yeah, and like, I remember that was such a big, big controversy, Dolly the sheep. Oh my God. Yeah. She's dead now. I mean, she's been dead for years, but.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're going to work on the room and packaging and shipping, and I'm going to be taking care of my dead bird and BI stuff. Can you send me the email for this morning that you're supposed to send me? Alrighty. Okay, so guys, weekend is here. This is our first full week after Thanksgiving. The last months for Syra and I have been chaotic all over the place. But I'm going to tell you, one of the things that I miss a great deal, and I think Syra and I were talking about this the other day, is routine. It is so hard to get shit done without routine. So my goal for this week, in this next couple of weeks, is to get on to a routine. So I'm hoping Syra and I are going to be on this like clockwork, 10 a.m. every Wednesday. We're going to be on doing this except for Christmas.
It's Thursday.
So I said Wednesday, so I'm wrong. Okay, so we're going to be here on the 9th. We're going to be here on the 16th. We're going to be here on the 23rd. We're going to be here on the 30th. So we're going to be here every Thursday this month. Yes?
One of those days I may not because I am on vacation.
All right.
For from the Christmas until New Year's, I'm on vacation.
Okay, got it. So the 30th will not be no 30th. That's going to be a week off, and then we'll do the 9th, 16th, and the 23rd.
Yes.
Rock on.
I am taking 2 weeks off around Christmas. I will be on vacation. I will be hanging out with my family. I will be finishing my house. It's going to be wonderful.
You know what? I may do something similar. So I'm going to look to see what mine are going to be. And then maybe we can all use that as an opportunity to take time for ourselves and recharge and regurgitate. No, recharge. Regurgitate. You know what? I'm going to go. This dead bird is sucking up my brain cells.
Yes. All right, sister.
All right.